Wow, OpenAI has really been busy. It seems like every time I turn around, there's something new.
They're really on a roll, aren't they?
Yeah.
The pace of development over there is incredible.
It's getting hard to keep up with all the new tools and features, but that's what this deep dive is for, right? To break down these developments and figure out what they actually mean.
Absolutely. So what's caught your eye in the world of OpenAI lately?
Well, one thing that really jumped out at me was this new Canvas interface. It seems like they're trying to change the way we interact with AI, particularly when it comes to creative tasks.
Yeah, Canvas is interesting. It's like they took the whole concept of a writing assistant and said, let's make it even more collaborative.
Right. It's not just about getting suggestions from the AI. It's about working side by side with it, almost like you would with a human collaborator.
Exactly. You can literally highlight sections of your text and ask GPT-4o for input, get inline suggestions, even track changes like you would in a Word document. Pretty slick.
And those shortcuts. Need to make your text longer or shorter. Adjust the tone or reading level. Boom. Done. It's like having a super-powered editor on demand.
And what's really cool is that they've specifically trained GPT-4o for this kind of collaboration.
You mean it's not just the same GPT-4o we've seen before, just with the new interface slapped on top?
Right. They've fine-tuned it to be better at understanding context, making targeted edits, and knowing when to offer suggestions without completely rewriting your work, which, let's be honest, could be a bit of a problem with earlier versions.
I've been there. All right, so OpenAI is making AI more collaborative, but what about making it more, well, human? Like, how about having an actual conversation with an AI?
Ah, you're talking about the real-time API. That's a big one.
Tell me more. What makes it so revolutionary?
Well, for starters, it's all about seamless interaction. In the past, if you wanted to build an application that involved speech recognition, text processing, and then speech generation, you needed a bunch of different models working together. It was a mess.
Okay, so it sounds like the real-time API streamlines all of that.
Exactly. It brings everything under one roof, making it much easier for developers to create applications that feel more natural and conversational.
So what kind of applications are we talking about here?
Oh, the possibilities are endless. Imagine language learning apps that actually feel like you're talking to a tutor, customer support systems that can understand and respond to your questions in real time.
Or even just being able to have a more natural back and forth with your smart devices rather than feeling like you're barking orders at them.
Precisely. And here's where it gets really interesting. They've incorporated something called function calling into the real-time API.
Function calling. Break that down for me.
It basically means that the AI can perform actions based on what you're saying. It's not just about understanding your words, it's about understanding the context and taking action accordingly.
Okay, now we're talking. Give me an example.
Let's say you're talking to your AI assistant and you casually mention that you're hungry. With function calling, the AI could actually go ahead and order you a pizza without you having to explicitly tell it to do so.
Now, that is impressive. Although I can also see how that could go very wrong, ordering pizza every time someone mentions being hungry.
It's true, there are definitely ethical considerations here, but the potential is undeniable. And it all stems from this shift towards a more intuitive and seamless interaction between humans and AI.
So OpenAI is making AI more collaborative and more conversational. But wait, there's more. They're also teaching AI to see.
Now, that is a game changer.
Right. This whole vision fine-tuning thing has me really curious.
It's a whole new frontier, and I think we're only just beginning to scratch the surface of what's possible.
So we've got AI that can write, talk, and now see. Is there anything AI won't be able to do?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's dive into the specifics of this visual AI and what it actually means.
Let's do it.
So we've talked about AI that can collaborate with us, have conversations with us, and now they can actually see the world in a way, just like we do.
Yeah, this whole vision thing is pretty wild. I mean, how does giving an AI eyes actually make it more useful?
Think about it this way. Up until now, most AI has been limited to the digital world, text, code, that sort of thing. But with vision, AI can start to interact with the real world in a much more meaningful way.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Give me an example.
Let's take something like medical imaging. Imagine an AI that's been trained on thousands upon thousands of X-rays and scans. It could learn to spot subtle patterns and anomalies that even a trained radiologist might miss.
Wow, that's kind of amazing. And a little bit unnerving at the same time. I mean, are we talking about AI that could potentially diagnose diseases better than human doctors?
Potentially, yes. But it's important to remember that we're still in the early stages here. This isn't about replacing human expertise, it's about augmenting it. Think of it as giving doctors a powerful new tool to help them make more accurate and timely diagnoses.
Okay, that makes sense. But it also raises some big questions, right? Like,
Yeah.
how do we ensure that these AI systems are accurate and unbiased? What if there are flaws in the data they're trained on?
Those are all valid concerns, and it's something that OpenAI is acutely aware of. They've actually built in features to try and address these issues.
Like what?
Well, for one, they've made it easier for developers to test their AI models for bias. So if an AI is making decisions based on factors that are unfair or discriminatory, you can hopefully catch that early on.
That's good to hear. Because the last thing we need is biased AI making life or death decisions in healthcare or any other field.
Absolutely. And that's why transparency is so crucial. We need to be able to understand how these AI systems are making decisions, even if the decision-making process happens to be incredibly complex.
It seems like OpenAI is trying to walk that tightrope between pushing the boundaries of what's possible while also addressing these ethical concerns.
They are. And it's not just about ethics either. They're also thinking about accessibility. I mean, all of this cutting-edge AI is great, but it can also be pretty expensive to develop and deploy, right?
Yeah, I imagine it takes a lot of computing power to train these AI models, especially with something as data intensive as vision. Not every company has the resources of a Google or a Microsoft.
Exactly. And that's where this whole concept of model distillation comes in.
Model distillation. Now, there's a term I haven't heard before. What is that?
It's a fascinating approach to making AI more accessible and cost-effective. Think of it like creating a smaller, more efficient version of a large AI model.
So, kind of like distilling down the essence of something into a more concentrated form.
Precisely. And they've introduced these new features, stored completions and evals, which make it easier to track and measure how well these distilled models are performing.
It's interesting, isn't it? You have these incredibly powerful AI models being developed, but then there's also this push to make sure that those advancements trickle down to smaller players as well.
It's like democratizing access to AI, which is really exciting when you think about the potential impact it could have.
I'm with you on that. So we've talked about collaboration, conversation, vision, and making AI more accessible. Is there anything we've missed?
Well, there's one more thing. It might seem like a small detail, but it makes a huge difference in how we interact with AI, especially in those conversational settings we talked about earlier.
Okay, you've got my attention. What is this mysterious feature?
It's called prompt caching, and it's all about giving AI a memory in a way.
So, prompt caching. It's like giving AI a memory. What does that actually mean, and why should we care?
Well, think about how we have conversations with each other. We don't start from scratch every time we talk. We build on what's been said before. We remember past experiences. We make connections. Prompt caching allows AI to do something similar.
So instead of treating every interaction like a brand new conversation, the AI can remember previous interactions and use that information to provide more relevant and personalized responses.
You got it. And it's not just about remembering what you said. It's about remembering the context, the nuances of the conversation. This can make a huge difference in how natural and intuitive those interactions feel.
Okay, that makes sense. But how does it actually work in practice? Can you give me an example?
Sure. Let's say you're working on a coding project with an AI assistant, and you've already fed it a bunch of information about your code base, your coding style, your preferences, etc. With prompt caching, the AI can remember all of that context, so you don't have to keep repeating yourself every time you ask for help with a new task.
So it's like the AI is finally taking good notes. That must save a ton of time and frustration, both for the user and for the AI, I imagine.
Exactly. It makes the whole interaction much more efficient and productive.
Mm.
And for developers, it also means lower costs because they're not constantly sending the same information over and over again. It's a win-win.
This all ties back into that theme we've been talking about, making AI more human-like in its interactions. We've gone from simple commands to collaborative partnerships, from robotic voices to natural conversations, and now from forgetful assistants to AI that can actually remember and learn from past interactions.
It's an exciting time to be following the world of AI, that's for sure. And it's happening at lightning speed. Who knows what incredible advancements we'll be discussing this time next year.
Only time will tell. But one thing's for sure. OpenAI is definitely a company to watch. They're pushing the boundaries of what's possible with AI, and they're not afraid to tackle those big, thorny ethical questions along the way.
I couldn't agree more. They seem to understand that it's not just about building powerful AI, but about building AI that benefits humanity as a whole.
And that's a wrap. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the ever-evolving world of OpenAI. Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep your minds open to the possibilities of artificial intelligence.